name's Taylor Peters, and this is my story. I want to talk about what God has done for me in the past 4 years. My whole life, I've loved music. It was everything that I wanted to do. It was everything that brought me the most joy in life. My dad actually thought I would pursue my dreams of being a professional basketball player, but I ended up giving all of that up just so that I could start writing songs and playing music. I fell in love with the guitar and the piano and writing my own music, and started recording it on GarageBand just for fun, and writing my own worship songs, and sooner or later it caught the eye of my youth pastor at the time. One day at youth group, he basically just didn't give me a choice and just said, "Hey, guess what? You're going to lead this worship song right now for our youth group tonight." And I just got up there and no idea what I was doing, never sang in front of anybody before or played, and just went for it. We all have a special gift that God has placed inside of us, and sometimes we don't realize what that is until He decides to reveal it to us at a special moment. And I realized that when I sang that first song and played my guitar in front of people for the first time, and I felt that spark light up within me, and I knew that that was something I wanted to do over and over again. In high school, I began leading worship for chapel at Bakersfield Christian, and I remember one time standing in front of 1,000 people in chapel and just looking around. It was like time stood still, and I realized in that moment that leading worship was what I loved to do most in the whole world. From chapel at BCHS, it went from that to leading worship at my church for the college group, in high school group, and junior high group, and Bible studies on the side. And it was like I just couldn't get enough of that fire that God had lit within me, and it wasn't going out for anything. In 2010, I headed to Vanguard University on a music scholarship for guitar and piano, and I was a music and worship arts major, and all I wanted to be was a worship leader. That was it, and I would collect as many instruments as possible and learn how to play them, and my sole goal in life was to be on a worship stage, and that's all I cared about. I ended up meeting my best friend at Vanguard, Nicosia, and she was a vocal major, and so naturally we hit it off, and we were in music camp together, and met some of the most incredible people who were also musicians, and I got to learn so much during that time, and grow so much as a worship leader and as a musician. At my time at Vanguard, I was part of the Vanguard Classical Guitar Ensemble, and really just got to start learning a whole new way to play guitar and expanding my musical abilities and growing myself as a musician and as a worship leader and applying those things. And I even got to record in a professional studio with my ensemble, and we came out with the first ever Vanguard Classical Guitar Ensemble CD, and I was so excited about that. And we got to travel the West Coast on tour, and those are memories that I'll never forget, that grew me in so many ways. I met the most incredible people at Vanguard, and I was surrounded by so many people on fire for God, and I had that same spark, and we were all in our giftings, and we were just so excited about all that God was going to do. And I know that my focus was just solely on becoming the best worship leader I could be. And in that time, I found that the enemy really does work hard to trip you up sometimes. like sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing and looking so far forward that we forget that the devil is setting traps for us and laying things in our path to trip us up, and plotting and deciding how he can possibly get us away from that gifting that God is calling us into, and how he can possibly pour water on top of that spark and that flame. I had everything at Vanguard. I was leading worship for women's conferences out of town, and Bible studies on campus, and a beach Bible study with my friend Hannah, who was a bassist, and we would do worship out there under the stars, and I just loved it, and I couldn't get enough, and even was leading worship for churches off campus, and it just fed my spirit and made me excited. And the devil decided to put the right kind of people in my path in the right circumstances to trip me up and to make me believe that I wasn't good enough to do it anymore. There came a day where I couldn't deal with the guilt anymore, and I quit every single ministry I was involved in one day. And I just said, God, why do you want to use me? I've strayed away from who you've asked me to be. I've strayed away from the good friends at Vanguard that you've put in my life. I've started being around people that are manipulating me and using me, and there was no love there, and I got caught up in all of that and became trapped by the enemy, and felt that I could no longer lead for God anymore, and I wasn't worthy to. For 4 years, I didn't lead worship or sing, and I just decided that I wasn't worthy enough to do that for God anymore. And it wasn't because I ever thought that it was God's fault. I never once blamed God, but I always told him, you don't want to use me. I've made too many mistakes. I can't be the worship leader that I used to be. I'm too far away from that. I don't want to falsely lead people into something that means so much to me. And I felt God calling me to do it again, and I had been filled with so much fear from the enemy that I didn't know how I could ever do it again, how I could ever have the confidence to do it again. And listening to those lies for 4 straight years, and my fears just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in 1 Peter 5:8 it says to be of sober spirit and to be on alert and be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, comes like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And every time I read that, I am reminded that as soon as you come into your anointing, as soon as you find your gift, the devil starts laying traps. And it's only when our gift gets taken from us is when we fall into those traps and we start believing those lies. I wanted to make this video to encourage others that just watch out for the things around you that aren't of God, and watch out for people in your life that want to bring you down instead of lift you up in God. And don't ever give up on the gift that God has given you. Don't ever walk away from a calling just because you think you're not good enough, because what I've come to realize in these last 4 years is that God is big enough, and even if I don't feel worthy, he makes me worthy. And even if I don't feel worth it, his love gives me worth. And that in itself has pushed me, along with so many other incredible people, friends, family, leaders at my church, New Life Church, just to get back up there again and find my strength again in being a worship leader. This past year, I've found a relationship with God like I've never known before, and just letting him teach me about myself, and letting go and opening my hand from a clenched fist to an open palm, and saying, you know what, God, I'm not going to let fear control me anymore. I'm not going to let the devil trick my mind anymore. I'm just going to go for it, and I'm just going to do what you're asking me to do. I've been playing worship at New Life Church now with my husband Jared for the last 2 years, and it's completely changed my life and grown me in so many ways. And I'm proud to say for the first time on April 22nd, I'm going to step out and sing again for the first time. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to say no to that fear and no to the devil, and say yes to everything that God has been asking me to do and step forward to do. And I'm so ready for the new journey of entering into that worship again that I've missed for so long. I found there's no greater joy in the world than living in the gifting that God has called you to be in. So I encourage you, if you have a gift that God's given you, never give up on it. Give it everything that you have, and in it, you'll see God do things you never imagined in your life.